Back with us on the SportsMax Zone, West Indies men's interim head coach Andre Coley was a guest on yesterday's show, discussing his plans and goals for his 2-month stint guiding the team. The Windies will head off to Southern Africa in about 2 weeks, with their first stop being Zimbabwe for a 2-test series. Coley says it's all about victory.
It's very important that we win, because these series are important. So yes, the aim is obviously to win the series. If you think about the white ball side of it as well, you think about the World Cup in a few months' time. You think about 6 months away. How can we set up how we go about playing in the upcoming ODIs, for instance, to start following and shaping how we want to play. For the World Cup. That's one consideration around the white ball side of things. But obviously we're really looking to win both series.
That's Andre Coley. Now the Cricket West Indies Chief Executive Officer Johnny Grave joins us now. Good afternoon, Johnny. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. Good afternoon.
Great. Just before we get to the Coley issue, Johnny, beg your pardon. Before we get to the Andre Coley issue, Johnny, I got an email from a viewer a couple of days ago asking a question about the tenure of your contract as Cricket West Indies CEO, and I said, well, if we talk to him, I'll ask. So I have the opportunity now. Has there been a change in the time your contract ends, and can you say when the contract that you are on now ends as CEO of Cricket West Indies?
Yeah, no change. I signed a 3-year contract about 2.5 years ago, so my current engagement ends June 30th of this year.
Right, all right. So for the gentleman asking, I know you're a regular watcher of the Zone, you said it was your information that an extension had been signed and you wondered why that had not been made public. I found that to be rather odd. That's not how Johnny Grave and CWI do their business. The gentleman says he has about a half a year left on a 3-year term, and it ends June, you say, 2023?
Yeah, June 30th, 2023.
Excellent. We've cleared that up. Let's get right to it now. The targets, what has been the charge given to Andre Coley in this interim role for the Southern Africa Games?
Yeah, pretty simple, really. Go to Zimbabwe and use that tour to, I guess, to a certain extent, reset following the disappointment of Australia Test Series, and use that as key and crucial preparation ahead of the World Test Championship fixtures against South Africa that immediately follow. And then I think, as Andre probably remarked to you yesterday as well, that the White Ball Series is an opportunity for us to start the plans for the World Cup in 50-over cricket. We may find out later this month that we have to go to Zimbabwe in the end of June to qualify, like we did in 2018. Obviously, we hope we don't have to, but at the moment we're right on the cusp of qualification of the ODI Super League. So it's really, the White Ball Series is really about trying to establish how we want to play 50-over cricket, and the T20s are really just, I guess, an opportunity for us to, again, reset after what was such a disappointing T20 World Cup.
And it would only be fair that I ask you the question, the variation thereof, of the question I asked Andre yesterday, if he would be interested when his interim stint ends to cast himself as a candidate for the role full time. I assume that the planning that Cricket West Indies does would already have a frame to drop candidates in. Is Coley someone with credentials suitable enough for him to be considered for the role full time when the time comes for that consideration to be made?
Yeah, look, absolutely. I think Andre is one of our most experienced coaches in the region. He's coached pretty much at every level and had success. So, yeah, no reason why not. We're due to receive the World Cup report from Justice Thompson early next week, and the plan very much is for us to consider that internally, discuss it with our board of directors, and that may well shape our thinking around how we move forward on a long-term basis in terms of the head coach role for the West Indies men's team. And we certainly hope that we have clarity on that and consensus on that way forward by the end of this month, so that we can use February and March to advertise and recruit the best possible candidate or candidates for that role, and look to have someone in place, in and around Easter ahead of that first engagement. As I said, that may be the World Cup qualifiers at the back end of June, or it might be our tour of India and the Caribbean in July. So we've got a bit of time to plan and hopefully make a very good decision on what's an enormously important role within our cricket system. But at the same time, we don't want to rest on our laurels too much, because the longer we can give the candidate or candidates time to bed in and get their support team and start working with our players, the better, really.
Yeah, and what has been, what will be the process to appoint this coach, and have you considered any foreign coaches? Are you in discussions with any foreign coaches?
We're not in discussions with any coaches at this stage. We still haven't necessarily agreed the parameters of the head coach. Are we going to have one men's head coach for all three teams like Phil Simmons was and other coaches in the past? Are we going to look to what other nations have started to do and maybe split the red ball and white ball duties across two head coaches? And then again, how long are we going to give the coach in terms of preparing for those ICC engagements, either the World Test Championship or ODI World Cups or T20 World Cups? So we haven't spoken to anyone. I would hope that we would have an open mind to the appointment. It would be a global recruitment, but clearly candidates of West Indian origin who understand our culture, understand our system, have a huge advantage. And we have a West Indies first policy at the board, at the organisation, and we'll still be very much guided by that. But I'd imagine we will open the recruitment process up to anyone in the world.
Right, and yesterday when we spoke to Andrew, of course, we asked him about the support staff that will be accompanying him on the upcoming tours. He said, of course, he couldn't let us know, but how close are you to, just finalising who he'll be working with so that the public can know?
Yeah, pretty close. We're at contract stage with certainly the two technical coaches that will replace Roddy Eswick, the bowling coach, who's no longer with the first team, and Monty Desai, who's no longer there. But the medical team, the team analyst, team manager, media manager are going to be largely unchanged. So it's not a massively new team that will be going down to Southern Africa for the two tours, but there will be, in terms of Andre's sort of technical team, there will be two changes there, and hope to announce that in the next week or so.
Yeah, and from a business perspective, how has Cricket West Indies been doing, and are there new plans, to improve the Cricket West Indies business model this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, 2022 was a real year of recovery. We just completing our audit now, and we'll have record revenues of just under $80 million last year, which is obviously well needed after two very difficult years of COVID, and entering COVID with not probably the best balance sheet either. So last year was a significant year for the organisation, with obviously tours by England and India, and hosting that under-19 men's World Cup. This year is, luckily again for us, a very strong year. We've got India coming in the summer, and we've got England coming in December next year. So this year is very much about completing the transformation of our organisation financially, so that 2024 will be a very robust financial organisation, and that will hopefully give us probably a strong foundation and balance sheet that we've never ever had in our history, that will hopefully allow us to make those fundamental changes and improvements that we continue to strive for at all levels of our cricket, so that we can return to winning ways on the field as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and in trying to achieve returning to winning ways, CEO, if we look, which we have in the past few months, the lack of success West Indies coaches have had. You just referenced the West Indies first policy that is now in place to select coaches and so on. But we've had, several foreign coaches in the past decade or so: John Dyson, Bennett King, Stuart Law. But they haven't been really any more successful than the West Indies coaches have been, the Otis Gibsons and the Phil Simmonses of this world. The KPIs, the key performance indicators that companies use to assess and measure the performance of, companies or individuals in an organization. Would the KPI reading of a West Indies coach be similar to other top countries in world cricket, given the fact that West Indies cricket is struggling? What is the mandate given to West Indies coaches? Because all of our coaches in the past 2 decades, Johnny, have had losing records.
Yeah, look, it's a good point. Look, we're ranked, predominantly 7th or 8th or even 9th in the world across the three formats. And obviously, assessing a coach, you have to assess the three different teams and accept that they're very different teams in our case in terms of the makeup of the players and the sides, and at times one team and one format might be more successful than the other. And obviously we're also looking for the future, so how that head coach is developing what we hope will be younger players coming through who can compete at sort of that international stage. So the KPIs are virtually the same, but again, I think probably the region places too much emphasis on who the head coach is. As I said earlier, it's an enormously important role in our cricket system, but I'm very focused and the organisation is very focused on improving the overall cricket system so that we can give that head coach better players who are more equipped for competing at international level against some of the biggest and best teams in the world. And it will be a combination of getting the right person in the role to be the head coach, but also continue to do the work behind the scenes on improving all aspects of our system if we're going to have that meaningful, long-term, sustainable change where we can get more consistency and more success on and off, on the field across both our men's and women's teams and all the formats that they play.
Yeah, because Coley's appointment is interim, Johnny, a lot of discussion has happened regionally about Shivnarine Chanderpaul and his possible desire to become the West Indies coach. And it has been the subject of a lot of discussion recently. How impressed is the CWI with his coaching rise, may I call it that, because he's still in the embryonic stages of his coaching career. But would the CWI welcome an application from Shiv Chanderpaul?
Yeah, look, there's been a lot of talk. It's slightly disappointing from my side that there's been no recognition of the fact that Shiv's been on our new Level 3 course, the course that we now run ourselves in partnership with the University of the West Indies as part of a complete overhaul of our entire coaching system. We now have foundation courses, Level 1, Level 2 and Level 3 courses. I think in the last couple of years we've coached almost 1,000 new coaches. And previously there was no CWI accreditation process. We had to rely on the Australian and English system to coach our coaches, which is obviously inordinately expensive, having to fly in overseas trainers, where we now do that all within the region. And Shiv's been on that Level 3 for the last 12 months. We've supported and encouraged him to take on those engagements that he's had success with, obviously the Tallowers in the CPL and more recently the under-19s team for the US. So it's great to see Shiv getting these opportunities and hopefully he can be a role model for other players who want to stay in the system. They want to take their playing careers onto off the field and that coaching elements. And there are more and more opportunities, not just within Cricket West Indies, but around the world for coaches. And we fully support them now through that coaching system and accreditation process. So Shiv's on our Level 3, and I'm sure lots of our Level 3 accredited coaches would be applying and looking to either get the top job or become part of that support team moving forward.
Yeah, and just to be clear, the Level 1, Level 2, Level 3, and Shiv he has acquired the Level 3 status. In what order is that? Just to be clear, is Level 1 the preliminary, 2 higher, and 3 the highest of the 3, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, he works from foundation through 1, 2 and 3. So 3 is our highest level of coaching accreditation at the moment, and Shiv's just completed his 12-month Level 3. So he's one of our newest graduates from that brand new Level 3 coaching course.
Yeah, and can you mention names that probably would register with our viewers of others that would have completed Level 3? Players or former players that, our fans and our viewers would probably know.
I can't. You've caught me on that one, I'm afraid. I don't have it to hand, and my memory's not what it was. But there were about 15 players, 15 people that went through that accreditation system, because the Level 3 is a 12-month program where it's very much hands-on feedback in the field. We tried to keep the numbers on that very low to keep the quality very high. And Chris Brabazon, who runs that coaching and education team at Cricket West Indies, been very clear that when you get to that top level, Level 3, it's really about quality over quantity. So I'll have to look back at my records to see who was on that and give that to you at a later date.
Yeah, no problem, Johnny. I think I'd seen a list at some point, but I just, like you, can't recall the names at the moment. We still have a lot to talk about, Johnny Grave. Stay with us. We have a commercial break, and we'll be back with more on The Zone after this.
Thank you for watching SportsMax on YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and click the notification bell to stay informed.